This conference will now be recorded.
Okay.
Bene, direi che possiamo iniziare. A te Loredana con la presentazione del progetto.
Buongiorno a tutti, io naturalmente parlo in italiano perché non voglio farmi già dei debiti subito. Allora, io sono il coordinatore del Peter Paysage per conto della provincia di Cuneo. Peter, intanto che cos'è questa strana creatura? È un piano territoriale integrato che fa parte di una progettazione europea ormai dal 2013-2020 di Interreg Alcotra. È un piano integrato che si appoggia su una strategia che nel nostro caso è la valorizzazione del paesaggio, la messa in valore del paesaggio, e che si appoggia su 4 progetti collegati per l'attuazione di questa strategia. I 4 progetti, tra i 4 progetti uno è proprio Pays Aimables, lo dice il titolo, un paese bello, un paese accattivante, che ha nella sua mission proprio quello di raggiungere questo obiettivo di messa in valore del paesaggio. Ora, che cos'è questo paesaggio? Non è soltanto un paesaggio per noi da intendere in senso naturalistico, è anche quello, ma il paesaggio per noi è il paesaggio agrario modificato dalle attività umane, è la rete escursionistica, è il buon cibo, sono i borghi, sono la storia, sono la memoria dei nostri territori, no? Insieme con un partenariato multilivello abbiamo quindi confezionato questo prodotto che vuole entrare proprio in un'ottica di concretezza, in un'ottica di servizio sia ai territori che a chi questi territori abita, che con un forte grado di resilienza in questi territori, nonostante tutto, continua a lavorare, continua a operare. E voi come operatori turistici siete in prima fila perché questo? Perché oltre a questi 2 anni, diciamo, anni brutti, anni gravati da questa pandemia, abbiamo anche alle spalle tutta una serie di fatiche, no? Nell'ambito del turismo, della promozione turistica. Ecco perché insieme ai partner territoriali italiani, francesi, liguri e piemontesi, quindi parlo di provincia di Cuneo, che appunto è il coordinatore, parlo di provincia di Imperia, della CARF, di Nice Métropole, dal punto di vista, diciamo, del partenariato territoriale, oltre alle unioni montane Alta Valtanaro e Alta Langa, che sono soggetti attuatori delle iniziative che portiamo avanti. Poi abbiamo un partenariato importante con la Camera di Commercio, quindi capite bene che il fatto di avere le Camere di Commercio, sia italiane che del Nizzardo, che della Liguria, unitamente a quella di Cuneo, è stato un valore aggiunto proprio per raggiungere molti operatori attraverso le categorie e le associazioni di categoria. Quindi che cosa manca in questo nostro territorio, che è un territorio bello, che è un territorio accattivante, è un territorio che va da Nizza, da Cannes-le-Rhin, passando per la provincia di Imperia, per l'entroterra, per andare in Alta Valle Tanaro e per proseguire nell'Alta Langa montana. Quindi un territorio vasto, un territorio con paesaggi diversi, con paesaggi che sono il frutto proprio di un patrimonio comune, no? Che deve essere attraverso le attività e le buone pratiche che stiamo portando avanti con questo progetto, diventare anche un vantaggio economico, creare un vantaggio economico, oltre che a rappresentare una forte espressione identitaria e diciamo un bene comune importante dal punto di vista culturale. Da raccontare, quindi lo storytelling è importantissimo, oltre al fatto di mettersi in rete, al fatto di migliorare l'accoglienza del turista, di riuscire a creare degli strumenti di aggregazione che possono essere i club di prodotto, così come diciamo buona pratica da attuare. In quest'ottica, con l'ATL del Cuneese, che è uno dei nostri soggetti attuatori, abbiamo individuato una serie di iniziative importanti e interessanti, proprio per arrivare al succo, no, delle cose concrete che vogliamo fare, quindi alla narrazione. Comunicazione e narrazione di tutto quello che di bello noi abbiamo da offrire in modo sostenibile a un turismo slow, a un turismo di prossimità. Quindi questo corso di inglese rientra veramente in questa attività, in quest'ottica. Quindi spero di non essere stata troppo prolissa, di avervi inquadrato un po' il progetto. Ci sarebbe tantissimo da dire, ma lo faremo nelle occasioni di comunicazione e di risultati del progetto, in cui mi piace già pensare un buon successo di questo corso. Ringrazio Tiziana per avermi contattata e auguro una buona giornata e soprattutto un buon corso a tutti quanti.
Passerei allora la parola al mio direttore Daniela Salvestrin.
Grazie Tiziana e grazie anche alla dottoressa Canavese che mi ha già anticipato su alcuni argomenti, quindi il mio compito sarà più facile e sarò sicuramente sintetica. Intanto anch'io voglio sottolineare la concretezza di questo progetto e l'organizzazione di questo corso va sicuramente in questa direzione. Non si tratta di un corso di General English, ma di una serie di 6 incontri mirati a migliorare l'efficacia della comunicazione in lingua inglese di tutti noi operatori del turismo, operatori a vari livelli e in varie situazioni. Ovviamente tutti noi siamo consapevoli di quanto una comunicazione corretta e soprattutto efficace sia importantissima per dare del nostro territorio in generale e delle singole attività legate al turismo un'immagine appunto non solo di accoglienza ma anche di competenza. A tutti voi sarà capitato di consultare dei siti italiani o stranieri in cui magari l'italiano veniva utilizzato in modo un pochino approssimativo e questo sicuramente c'è qualcuno che sta parlando, non so se volevano fare un intervento, vedo dei microfoni accesi, forse poi soprattutto per la parte di corso sarà bene che ciascuno di noi abbia il microfono spento. Dicevo che a tutti noi è sicuramente capitato di leggere su siti internet, su pubblicazioni di tipo turistico, delle frasi in italiano o in una delle lingue che conosciamo meglio che contenevano degli strafalcioni e questo non è sicuramente il miglior modo per presentare un territorio o per presentare la propria attività. Questo corso vuol proprio andare dritto al punto, cioè migliorare la competenza nella lingua inglese relativamente al vocabolario turistico e far sì che i nostri modi di comunicare in lingua inglese siano coerenti con la qualità dei servizi che vogliamo offrire. Quindi sappiamo sicuramente che tutti voi avete già una competenza perlomeno di base in lingua inglese, ma naturalmente non si può far altro che migliorare sempre, non si finisce mai di imparare, l'hanno detto persone molto più importanti di me, per cui io credo sia davvero giunto il momento di entrare nel vivo del nostro corso Let's Speak English, e quindi passo la parola a Wall Street English e alla signora Rinero, coordinatrice del nostro corso, in modo che ci spieghi come si svolgerà. Grazie a tutti per esservi iscritti, i corsi saranno poi anche rivedibili, riconsultabili online.
Se devi venire
per
qua,
coloro
magari,
che non hanno potuto partecipare in diretta alle lezioni. Rinnovo cortesemente l'invito a chi non deve parlare a escludere la modalità microfono. Grazie mille.
Molto bene, buongiorno a tutti quanti. Ancora qualche parola in italiano, poi passeremo tutto a Tina e da lì si sentiranno delle belle. Io sono Claudia Rinero, Service Manager del centro Wall Street di Cuneo, e ringrazio innanzitutto per essere stati inclusi in questo bellissimo progetto, perché essendo una scuola di inglese ci tocca proprio dal profondo. Il nostro marchio è una scuola internazionale, siamo conosciuti un po' in tutto il mondo, lavoriamo molto sulla conversazione, quindi tutto quello che riguarda l'inglese vivo, turismo, inglese per lavoro. Quindi ecco, questo progetto ci ha toccato subito sin dall'inizio. Conoscerete diversi insegnanti. Oggi avrete la lezione con Tina e andremo a vedere gli aspetti iniziali di questo progetto, per poi elaborarne nelle lezioni successive un approfondimento di tutto quello che può essere il vostro mondo. Io mi occuperò della parte della chat, quindi se durante la lezione avete delle domande potete tranquillamente scrivere in chat, mi occuperò io di comunicare con Tina avesse bisogno di essere interrotta per qualche approfondimento, qualche domanda. Altrimenti lascerei le domande verso la fine, se avete qualche curiosità, qualcosa, insomma, sentitevi liberi di scrivere nella chat. Molto bene. Allora, è stato già detto abbastanza, passo tutto a Tina. Buona lezione.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to all of you. First of all, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Tina, as my colleague Claudia just said. I come from the UK, but I've been here teaching for quite a few years. This first meeting is going to be, of course, about tourists. So it's the first lesson, so I was thinking about giving like an introduction, and as you know, all of you work in this industry, of course you know some English, you know some expressions, and what I'd like to go through with you is just to look at some expressions maybe which are a little bit difficult to use, or maybe you have come across before but you don't know exactly how you use them in English. I'd like to start with something easy, like, for example, all of you heard some expressions. When we talk about tourism, for example, we talk about tourists. So tourists, we talk about, for example, tourist trap. Of course, I'd like to say to you that if something is so difficult and if there are some expressions which are not so easy to understand, I'm going to write them in the chat so you can read them, because sometimes it depends how difficult they are. Maybe sometimes you don't understand immediately. So we have tourists, and here we talk about tourist trap, okay, which I'm going to write here in your chat. You can see that. So a tourist trap, okay. Perhaps you have met this expression before, you've seen it before. When we talk about tourist trap, it's like a place, for example, where a lot of tourists go there and prices are very high. So for example, if we think about the centre of London, where there are a lot of tourists, we can say that this is a tourist trap, okay. When we talk about tourists, we also talk about landmarks, which is written like that. So landmarks, when you talk about landmarks in a places, these are the most important places to visit. For example, if you think about a city here, Turin, when you think about Antonelliana, this is a landmark. When you see the picture of the city, this is what you say, the landmark of Turin. When you think about, for example, London, and you see the London Eye, this is a landmark of London. So landmark, so the most important places in a city. And when we talk about tourist traveling, of course, we talk about season, okay? And of course, you heard many times people saying high season, high season. When you think about high season, obviously, I'm sure you, you heard many times, so you use it at work. High season when lots of people travel. For example, in summer, this is what we call in English high season. We can call it sometimes peak season, written like that, peak season. So, okay, which is written like this, peak season. So, of course, you can say or high season, or you can say peak season when tourists travel more. You also have mid-season, which is written like this. So, mid-season is like, the months which they go up to summer. So, obviously, before July and August, this is what we call in English mid-season. And of course, you can also have a low, okay, or off season, which is like this, okay, off season. And that's, of course, where less people travel. So lows, okay, we have peak season, very high season, mid season, and low off season. We also have, okay, a lot more expressions, which I'm going to, okay, share with you now. We're going to have a look at some more expressions, okay, and so here we have, okay, so for example, here we have, okay, right, okay. When, for example, we travel, we talk about baggage, luggage, baggage. And of course, many times when you, for example, you talk to tourists, you say to them you have your baggage, your luggage, and you also have your hand luggage. Hand luggage, but sometimes you hear also saying people like carry-on luggage. Now, what is the difference between hand luggage and carry-on luggage? So hand luggage is what we call in England, so it's British English, while carry-on luggage, and I'm going to write here, okay. Sorry, okay, I go here. Yes, sorry, I just seen your message. Okay, so we have tourist trap. I'm going to say it again. So a tourist trap is a place where tourists, there are a lot of tourists, and all the shops there, they will ask you to pay more because it's a very touristic place, okay? And this is what we call in English a tourist trap. So for example, if you go to Rome or London or Paris and you go to the, where the place where there are a lot of tourists, so you pay for a coffee more, they will charge you more because this is what we call in English a tourist trap, okay? Feel free to ask me again, because if I speak too fast for some of you or you have some doubts, please feel free to ask, okay? So this is what we call in English a tourist trap, okay? I've just used by chance the expressions like, they charge you more. So if you go to a tourist trap, for example, in Paris or in Rome, big cities, a lot of tourists, and you say this is a tourist trap, they will charge you more. You hear this expression charge, which means they take a lot of money from you. They take money from you. So I'm going to write it down in a chat, and I say here, they charge you. It's written like this, charge you. When they charge you, means they ask you to pay some money. For example, when you talk to a passenger tourist, you can say to them, we charge you 10 euros for example, a seat. So when you say that, you as a travel agent, you say to them, we charge you, it means we ask you to take the money, okay? So that's what happens when you go to a tourist trap. They will charge you more, ask you to pay more, okay? Then I was saying so many times, because of course you can have English, British English, American English. So sometimes, yes, it's possible for you to get confused. For example, you can hear hand luggage, which is written like that. So hand luggage, or you can have carry-on luggage. So carry-on luggage. And so carry-on luggage, if you speak to an American speaker, he or she will say carry-on luggage, while British speaker will say your hand luggage. So you have your carry-on luggage or hand luggage, okay, or you can have your old luggage, so old luggage like that. So when, for example, you go to the airport and you have your big bag and you just give it to them when you do your check-in, this is the old luggage. The bag which you take with you on the plane, this is hand luggage or carry-on luggage, okay? I'm going to go through some particular expression which could be interesting for you. For example, when you as a travel agent, you will say there is a coach. Coach can be quite confusing for you because many of you heard of this expression like a coach, like, you know, when there's a football team, there's a coach. Here, when you have a coach, it's like, you know, a big bus. When, for example, you have to travel from Turin and you go to Milan, for example, you can say to the passenger, there is a coach, okay? So like a bus which goes from one city to another, coach. We also have a verb here when we think about traveling, to commute. When you commute, is the action, is the verb, and that means when you go from one place to another. So this is to commute. I can say, for example, I commute every day. So that means I travel every day, commute. Then, okay, we also have here a customer. Customs with yes. Custom is my habit. When you have something like that, like a custom, it's like, you know, where you go through customs because they have to check your baggage, your luggage, your bag. So in English, you just say you go through customs. And a customs officer is the person who is going to check. Okay, so it's going to check what you have. Okay, so here you have the customs officer. Right, then we have here, okay, we have sometimes, and I like to focus on that, sometimes, you know, you may be aware, you know, some expressions, but what is difficult is like, you know, to understand people. For example, we had a pronunciation, depart, which comes from French, and here you have, okay, to depart, like, you know, for example, to move from one place to another, okay? And, okay, then we have here departure. So, yes, departure. Yes, when you go, for example, at the airport, and yes, of course, you have the, okay, departure, okay? Okay, now, okay, feel free to ask me if you have any questions, okay? So we have depart, this is the verb, and then you have, you know, departure, departures. These are quite easy expressions, okay? Something else which is more difficult is like, you know, for example, when you speak to native speakers, there are some expressions like, you know, for example, what we call in English phrasal verbs, okay? Oh, sorry, I just need to, okay, charge, okay. Right, okay, okay. Okay, sorry. So I was saying, okay, when you speak to native speakers, it's more difficult because there are some expressions which do not come from Latin. For example, depart, it's very easy for you to see that because it comes from Latin. There are other expressions which are more difficult, okay? And I have chosen some to show you. For example, many times you have these expressions check-in, okay? We have used many times, everybody uses this expression. This is pretty easy. You won't have any problems with that. But you can see that you have a verb to check plus in, on, at, off. This is quite confusing for foreign people. When you do your check-in, of course, you just go to the airport, or nowadays you can do it online. So yes, this is your check-in. So you can say, for example, you can say to passenger, well, you must do your check-in. You must check in 1 hour, 2 hours before. You can actually use the check-in as a verb, as an action. So you can say, I usually check in online. That's pretty easy. Another one which is pretty easy and used many times is to check out. So when you confirm your departure, okay, when you leave your hotel, for example, you check out. So you can say to the people, you have to check out before 11. So when they come to the hotel, you say, okay, they will say to you, I have to do my check-in, I have to check in. But when they leave, they say, I have to check out. And you, as the agent there, the receptionist, you will have to say to them, you have to check out before 11. Check in, check out, pretty easy, not so difficult. If we look at this one, for example, drop somebody off. Many times, you are at the hotel and there is a person there, and he says, well, I need to, for example, to go somewhere, and I do not have a car. So you can say, yes, there will be somebody, there will be a taxi which will drop you off. So to drop you off means they will take with a car, and they will take them. So they will drop you off at the airport, for example. Okay, or for example, look at this question. Where do you want me to drop you off? A taxi driver can say to you, okay, madam, where do you want me to drop you off? Means where can I stop and take you? So this is, okay, where do you want me to drop you off? Get away is another one, which obviously, okay, perhaps you heard, and it's quite common when we talk about tourists. For example, when you go for a few days, you go somewhere, yes, this is to get away. So you can say, I get away for a few days, like, to escape. And of course, if you say you can escape, it's an escape for you. To escape is easier because it comes from Latin. Here you have get away. So to go away, to escape for a few days. I'm just going to have a look, okay, some more here, which is pick somebody up. So to pick somebody up is like, to collect. Again, if you, as a receptionist in the hotel, you say, for example, okay, a taxi can come and collect you. It's much easier, okay? But if you say, for example, there is a taxi driver who will come and pick you up. So pick you up is like, collect you here. So would, for example, in example, would you mind pick me up at 11? So pick me up means come and take me, collect me. So pick me up, okay? When we talk about, okay, traveling, for example, okay, you can see somebody off. So to see somebody off is like, to say bye. For example, I can say, tomorrow I'm going to see off my friend because she's going to England. So to see somebody off. Sometimes this expression can be kind of boring, difficult to remember, but unfortunately they are used a lot in spoken language. My piece of advice is to remember, like, an example. Like you can say, taxi driver, can you pick me up at 7? Like simple as that. It's easier for you to remember. Or for example, tomorrow I see my friend off. So I say goodbye because she's leaving. Another one which I'd like to have a look at is to set off. Okay, when you set off, you start your journey. We can say, for example, as a tour guide, we can say tomorrow morning we must set off at 7. So when they say that we must set off at 7 means we have to begin, we have to leave. Okay. Then, okay, something else, I'm sure you have heard of it. There is a stopover, okay? When there is a stopover, I'm sure you remember that and you use many times, like, there is like, a flight and you can say, I stopped over in Paris for a night, like you stop there and then you depart the following day. So this is a stopover. Just a couple of more. Take off. Yes, okay, the plane is going to take off and I'm sure you heard of it. And of course here you don't say, for example, it's quite unusual to say the plane is going to leave, but people will say to you, the plane is going to take off. And then we have here land. Many times you will say to passengers, your plane is going to land. Or you can say the plane is going to touch down. And of course, land is much easier. But when you have to deal with, native speakers, of course, really is more like, touch down. So our flight touched down before midday. So touch down. Okay, so I know they kind of, sometimes it's, oh my God, how can I remember all that? My piece of advice, as I said, is to remember like an example, like a game. For example, when you say, I stopped over in Paris for one night, it's easier for you to remember. Or for example, my taxi driver dropped me off at the station. Okay, so it's much easier for you to remember that. If you have any questions or if it was quite fast, feel free to ask me and to write in the chat and I will explain it to you. The next point, okay, which I'm going to, I'd like to go through with you is when, for example, you have a business. So having a business involves also advertise. So you have to advertise. And when you advertise, for example, your goal is, of course, to persuade people, but at the same time to give, like, some information. And I'd like to show you, okay, an example, and we're going to have a look together at some expressions which I use to advertise, okay. Like, for example, yes, we have here when you want to advertise, for example, your travel agency. Okay, so you can see that first, what is very important is, okay, of course, the picture, to catch people's attention. But, okay, maybe there is a message. I don't know, okay, if there is a problem. Okay, okay. So maybe the audio, okay. So I would say, like, it's very, very important, okay, also the language used to catch people's attention. So I'd like to go through with you some of these, okay, some of these expressions, like, for example, here. First of all, it's very important, and that can be really useful for you as well, because you have a kind of slogan. And so people can read and say, oh, that's interesting. Okay, let me read more. So of course, when you advertise, it's very important, you know, to make people realize that something can be useful for them. For example, here, explore the world. Like, you know, here, and then you have, of course, something, you know, smaller, which gives like more details. Discount on ticket. A package starts from $499. Holiday package 40%. Cashback on first booking. There are some new expressions there. For example, we have discount. Yes, of course, you have discount. We know that. So when you advertise your business, you can say we have a discount, for example, or you can say we have 50% off. Okay, so, and I'm going to write here, okay, in your chat. Maybe there is a problem with the audio, okay? So, for example, we have, okay, 50% off. When, okay, we have this example, you have, you know, 50% off on the booking. So you can say discount, or you can say 50% off. Then, okay, we have a holiday package holiday. When, I'm sure you remember this expression, when you offer that, when you have a package holiday, it's like, you know, it's like all inclusive. What is interesting here, and maybe you have heard before, or maybe you don't know how would you use when you advertise your business, it's like when they say 40% cash back on your first booking. Let's have a look in more details what it means. Cash back, you got 40% cash back on the first booking. So when you have, okay, so is the audio, okay. So when you have, for example, okay, cash back, it's like, you know, you buy your tickets, and then they will give you, for example, some money, okay, as a discount. This is the cashback. So you receive some money, okay, because, okay, you done your, okay. So you receive some money because you done some booking. So this is the, okay, because it's the audio, okay. Okay, yeah, okay. Okay, so I'm going to mute now. Okay, now I can, okay, can I do it now? Okay, yeah, okay. Let's see if you can hear me better, okay? And I try to slow down as well. Okay, so, okay, it's better, okay. So I'm going to, okay, slow down and explain in more details some of these expressions. So for those who couldn't hear me very well before, so what I was saying was, okay, how you can advertise your business. So it's very important, you know, you advertise and you let people know about your business. We have a look at some expressions we can use. When you read advertisement, even on an Italian newspaper, you can read a lot of expressions, English expressions. So I'd like to go through with you today, okay, these expressions. One of the expressions which is very, very popular is discount. You will hear everywhere you can say there is a discount this month. There is a discount, for example, on tickets, okay? But what I was saying before, sometimes you read on a newspaper or also online, for example, there is 50% off or 25% off, okay? So which is, okay, so 50% off, so okay, so like that, 50% off, it means there is a discount of 50%. So, okay, it's kind of the same, but it's a different way for you to, advertise, your business, okay? Another expression I was talking about before was, okay, cashback. You can see here it's written 40% cashback. When there is 40% cashback, it means you buy, for example, the ticket, whatever, and you will give the person back some cash, some kind of, okay, some money back, like, they spent, 100 and you get like, for example, 10% cash back. This is what we call cash back on your first booking. You'll get back some money because you've done the booking. You can see here is written big, explore the world. So of course, as we said, there are some slogans which you can use to advertise your business. Another, for example, slogan which you can use is, for example, okay, how to get there, how to get there. Perhaps you heard and you use many times get. Now, get is is used a lot in English. It's very common, but obviously with different meaning. So, for example, how to get there here would mean like, how to go there. So instead of saying how to go there, you can read how to get there. We will get you there. So you can say, for example, we will get you there. Here, we will get you there. It means you, will organize everything for them to go there. So get here means to go. Sometimes when you have, for example, your advertisement, you have something which is written, okay, and this is big, okay. For example, here you have explore the world. Or for example, sometimes you say, okay, a special offer, like, 50% off, and then there are some conditions. So you want them to know that, but usually this is written in small print. So you have the adverts like this. So everything is written so big. So you can say that, it's 40% off, it's very good offer, special offer, but there are some conditions. And these conditions usually are written in small. And this is what we call in English small print. So small print are the conditions. Yes, we can give you this special offer, but there are some conditions, okay? Maybe you have to book, for example, within. So within a week, for example, okay? Within a week, okay? Within the end of the month. You remember this expression, there is like, a deadline and you have to book it within a week. And of course, you put like, the slogan very big, and then you have the small print, so which obviously they have to read, okay? And I'm going to give you some slogans, for example, which you can use here. For example, we'll get you there. And or we can say we will take you anywhere. Like, as a tour guide, we say we will take you, we will take you anywhere. And of course, you have, we will take you anywhere. Of course, you have to give like more information. Yes, there are some conditions, and yes, you have here the small print, okay? What is kind of more difficult there is the verb to get, because get has a different meaning. I can say in my adverts, you can get anywhere we as a tour guide will get to everywhere in this area in Cuneo, for example. We can say, yeah, we can get to everywhere. So instead of saying we can take you, you can say we will get you everywhere. But you can also have in your advert, you can say you will get this special offer. And I can say to you, you will get, sorry, so you will get, you will, okay, you will get this special offer. So you will get this special offer. In that case, okay, it's written get again, but the meaning is completely different because here is you will receive. So you will get this special offer. So as you can see, yes, get, okay, used in many different ways. So in your case, as a tourist guide, you can say, we can get you everywhere you want in this area in Cuneo, for example. If you, for example, you book, okay, within a week, for example, you will get, sorry, this, you will get this special offer. So in that case means you will receive this special offer, okay? And, okay, and if you have any doubts, any questions about this, please feel free to ask. I've tried to give you a lot of examples because some of this vocabulary are not so easy to use, okay? In particular, get. Okay, next point I'd like to talk about is accommodation. Okay, now when you think about, okay, accommodation, so you're going to help your clients, you're going to give them all the information about where they can stay. I think the most used, of course, is hotel, okay, or youth hostel, for example. But you can also have, for example, self-catering. So first, I'd like to go through with you slowly, go through some different ways of accommodation. So hotel, of course, you have self-catering. Self-catering. Perhaps, okay, you've heard this expression, you can, work out the meaning. When you have self-catering, it means you go to a place where, for example, you got a kitchen and you can cook your own food, so you can prepare everything by yourself. So yes, you have self-catering. So hotel, youth hostel, and self-catering. Sometimes, okay, we can also talk about, for example, okay, homestay. Homestay. Pretty easy to work out because if you have a homestay, it's like you go to someone's house. So you have here homestay. But yes, when you have to book for the tourists, of course, in that case, it's like we can offer you a hotel, we can offer you a youth hostel. Yes, we can offer you self-catering. So we can offer you an apartment. And in this apartment, there is obviously a kitchen. Okay, you can cook there. You can just prepare yourself food, okay, in the kitchen. Okay, we also have, when we talk about hotel, of course, I'm sure you heard half board and full board. So when you talk about, okay, full board, and of course, okay, when you have full board means all the meals are included. So meals included. So we have included. So you have here meals included. So you have, and then you explain, of course, you have your breakfast, your lunch, and dinner. So in that case, it's like all meals are included. All meals are included. Yes, you can also have, okay, half board. Half board. So you can say, okay, half board. So yes, you can say to the passengers, you can have half board. In that case, of course, they can choose either they have breakfast, lunch or dinner included. So it's just half board. Another option that will be, okay, all inclusive. Okay, all inclusive is like, you have, okay, everything included. And so, okay, all inclusive. And then we have here a package tour. A package tour. Okay, so package, okay, tour. When you have here a package tour, it's like, everything has been organized for you. And you, as a tourist guide, you can say, yes, we have here a package tour. So everything has been organized for you. And so you have, okay, place where to stay, okay, all the activities you can do. So yes, here you have the, okay, package tour, okay. Of course, like we said before, hotel is one, okay, one of the most popular, okay, accommodation. Many people prefer that. Maybe they can choose half boards or full boards. But let's have a look at, okay, some expressions we use when we want to describe the hotel. Because, for example, okay, for example, if we go to the hotel, okay, you as a travel agent, for example, you have to, okay, explain. So you have to tell them what is the hotel like. So the questions you will be asked is, what's the hotel like? And so what's the hotel like? And okay, so when, for example, we ask you, they come to you and ask you, what's the hotel like? So you, as a travel agent, you have to tell them as much information as possible about the hotel. And usually this is about the location, what can they do there, okay? So you have to describe the hotel. And here, for example, we have a look at some vocabulary, some expressions which you can use. So sometimes it can be confusing because if you have, for example, a foreign person speaking to you, of course, quite fast, and maybe you heard like, and maybe you get confused and you say, do you like the hotel? Now, do you like is like your opinion. But if I come to you and I say, yes, I want to stay in this place in Cuneo, and you say to me, for example, yes, there is a nice hotel where you can stay, but I ask you this question, what's the hotel like? You hear like and you say, oh, it's okay, you like, yes, I like the hotel. I like is my opinion, but me as a tourist, I come to you and I say to you, what's the hotel like? That means, can you please describe the hotel? Sometimes, a fun example for you to remember is when you studied at school, what's the weather like? What's the weather like? I asked you to describe the weather, okay? So in the same way, I ask you to describe the hotel, so I can say to you, what's the hotel like? Now you have to give me some information about the hotel, so try to explain. So we are going to have a look at some expressions there. For example, you have to tell me about the room. I can say, what's the room like? Big, small, beautiful, terrible. That's pretty easy, okay? But you can also say, for example, beautiful, decorated. You can tell me about how it is decorated. We also have these expressions here, bright, bright. When I say, for example, the room is bright, it's because there are windows, there's light, so very bright. Like, for example, a very bright color. So if you see the wall in the room, I can say it's very bright, like white, yellow, bright, okay? The opposite of bright is dark, and I'm going to write here in your chat is dark. So you can have, for example, Bright color, dark. You can say the room is dark, no windows, and dark. With many windows, you can say the room is bright. Elegant, spacious, okay, so there's lots of room, quite big. Tastefully furnished, okay. We have, okay, furniture, and I'm going to slowly explain to you here. Furniture, so when, okay, I'm sorry, when we have, for example, okay, furniture is the things we have in the room. For example, we have tables, chairs, bed. This is furniture. And I'm going to, okay, give an example. So you will say to the tourist, you say, yes, in this hotel, there is a lot of furniture. Okay, so there is a lot of furniture. You don't say there are furnitures, but you say there is a lot of furniture. And this is because furniture, you remember, there are some words which are uncountable in English. So yes, of course, here you can say there is a lot of furniture. And here you can say the room is tastefully furnished, like, you know, they furnished with a very nice, okay, in a nice way, so tastefully. Taste, you remember taste? When you can say, for example, you have a nice, this is my taste, you have taste. My taste is different from you, taste. I like, for example, red, you like white. I like, for example, big rooms, you like small room. I like bright rooms and you like dark rooms. This is because our taste is different, okay? And when you furnish your room tastefully, it's like, you know, in a very nice way, so everybody can like it. So you, as a travel agent, you can say to them, yes, we have this beautiful hotel in Cuneo, and the room is very bright. Rooms are bright in the hotel, and the rooms are tastefully furnished. And yes, and of course, okay, you can say here, well appointed. So well appointed, like, you know, very comfortable, okay, well organized, very comfortable. I'll ask you to remember like short examples, like short sentences. So you can say the rooms are bright, the rooms are spacious, the rooms are tastefully furnished. Okay, and okay, then we have, okay, well appointed, like, you know, very comfortable, very nice and comfortable, well appointed. Okay, then you have to tell me, I can say, what are the atmosphere, okay, because you try to say to me, yes, this hotel in Cuneo is amazing, it's fantastic, it's well appointed, rooms are spacious, okay. And the atmosphere, because it's very important for me as a tourist, you know, to feel comfortable. And so you can say to me, the atmosphere is welcoming. Like, you know, I will feel welcome if I go there. So yes, welcoming. Peaceful, okay. You can say it's very peaceful. You remember, you can say quiet, okay. So very quiet, I can relax because this hotel is in a very quiet area in Cuneo. So very quiet, okay, peaceful, hospitable, and cheerful. So when we have here, and okay, when we have these expressions like cheerful, it's like, you know, people there are very happy. And I think, you know, this is very important because if I go to this hotel and everybody's sad, I don't think I want to stay there. So it's very important that you have cheerful atmosphere. okay? Maybe you can say yes, also romantic, okay? So cheerful, peaceful, or quiet, okay? And hospital, romantic, and welcoming. And now, what is also very important, because if I come to you and I said, yes, I would like to stay in this area in Cuneo, but I don't know the area, so I really need to know where the hotel is. So you can tell me about the location. So you can say, for example, it's central. So you can say, yes, it's central. So it's very easy for you to get around. And I'm going to write down and I'm going to repeat these expressions, which is easy to get around, okay? So if I say, for example, your hotel is central and it's easy to get around, which is written like that, so it's easy to get around. To get around, again, like I said before at the beginning of our meeting, when, for example, you have, a translation literally from your first language, you would never use something like that, get around. You would say, it's easy to move. So you can say to foreign people coming to you and say, yeah, don't worry, the hotel is central, so it's easy to move. Yes, of course, okay, they will understand you, but of course it doesn't sound so natural. It sounds more natural if you say to the tourists, you say, if you stay in this hotel in Cuneo, it's very central, and for you, it's very easy to get around, so it's more natural. So to get around is to move from one area to another in Cuneo. So central, easy to get around. You can also say, for example, well located. So yes, when you have, well located in a good location. Beachside, if it's near the beach, for example. So many times you hear near, but you also hear close. Now let's have a look. If I use close, which has the same meaning, you say close to, for example, you can say close to the seaside, but you can say, for example, in your area, you can say the hotel is close to the mountains. So if I use close, I say close to. So you say to me, this hotel is close to the mountains. If I use near, I say near. So near the mountains. So that's the difference between the two. So close to and near the mountains. You can also say, okay, conventionally situated, like, is okay, is well situated. So of course, okay, it's very easy for you to stay there, ideally placed, okay. I hope it's all clear, but just in case you have any doubt, please feel free to ask me. We also have here, okay, about the hotel in general. We have, you can say, this hotel in Cuneo is very popular, traditional, okay, a modern hotel, highly recommended. So many times when you read, okay, about the hotel, and you can say it's highly recommended. Popular, traditional, modern is fine. And I think, they are so difficult to understand. We know that what they mean. However, when I can see well run, I'm a little bit confused, because I remember run means to go running. And if somebody says the hotel is well run, the business is well run, okay? So for example, I'll give you an example of the business, so it'll be easier. So the business is well run. I'm a little bit confused, because at school you studied to run is a sport, running is a sport. So why they say to run a business, okay? Now in English, to run a business means to manage. So you are the manager, you run the business, okay? And nothing to do with running, with playing sports, but is to run. So you are the manager, you are responsible for the business, you run the business, okay? So we can say here, yes, the hotel is well run. And yes, of course, this is also very important, because I think if a business is well run, means, of course, you know, you can offer a good service. So well run, okay? These are the expressions we use when we describe, for example, the hotel. But in many hotels, for example, if I say to you, yes, there is this hotel in the central Cuneo, in this area in Cuneo. What about the food, for example? Are there any restaurants in the hotel? Is it possible for me to eat there? So these are usually the questions they ask you. Is it possible for me to eat there? Is there a restaurant? So you can say to me, yes, there is one restaurant inside the hotel, or there are two restaurants, there are some restaurants. And I will ask you, me as a tourist, I will ask you again the same question as before. What's the hotel like? It's amazing, it's fantastic, it's in a beautiful area in Cuneo. When I ask you about the food, I will ask you the same question, and I will say to you, what's the food like? So like before, I ask you, what's the food like? So what's the food like? So written like that. I will ask you to describe the food like I did before with the hotel. What's the food like? Not your opinion. I don't want to know if you like the food, but I will say to you, what's the food like? And this is a kind of question you will hear many times, because, for example, if you have tourists coming in this area, they won't know about the food. So they can say to you, in this area, in Cuneo, Piedmont, what's the food like? So when you ask this question, like, what's the food like? You're going to say it's delicious, it's very nice food. You're going to give a description, and you give an idea of the food. So what's the food like? And let's see how you can describe the food. For example, you can, sorry, okay, is there a microphone? So, okay, is there any, okay, sorry, I thought it was someone speaking, okay. So, for example, here you can say appetizing. Appetizing, so this is, okay, a way to describe the food. So, appetizing. Nourishing, like, you know, very simple dish, but okay, with a lot of ingredients, okay, very simple but well cooked, nourishing. And home cooked, I don't know, maybe there is, okay, then here we have, okay, home cooked, and then we have these expressions like mouth watering. Mouth watering. I can hear, maybe, okay, maybe I can hear someone speaking. I don't know. Okay.
Ho già detto che lì un attimo, sempre gli occhi aperti.
Okay. So then we have this expression, mouth watering. Okay. Yeah, I can hear someone talking. I don't know. Okay. Sorry, can you hear me? Because I can hear someone talking, but I don't know, okay, if it's the audio. Okay, okay.
Sorry, Tina, we cannot hear you. I think your microphone is off.
Yeah, okay. Now, yeah, can you hear me now? Sorry. And the
Yes,
camera
now
too?
we can hear you. Yeah.
Sorry, there was a kind of noise. I don't know. I heard people talking. Okay, I do apologize. I'm sorry about that. I heard some people talking. And anyway, so we were saying about what's the food like. And again, me as a tourist, I come to you and I say, what's the food like? So you're going to tell me about the food. So you can say home cooked, nourishing, like, you know, very simple dish, but with lots of nice ingredients, nourishing dish. Dish, for example, something else, you know, you may come across here is dish and plate. Because, for example, if you try to give me information about this area and you're going to tell me about the food in this area, for example, you're going to say, okay, these are the dishes. So when you think about dish, is a typical dish, for example, of this place. And for example, pasta is a typical dish. So a typical Italian dish is pasta. And of course, if I come to you and I am interested in visiting this area, of course, you're going to tell me about a typical dish in this area. And you can say to me, one of the most typical dish is, okay, so you have a sentence like this. You can say, one of the most, typical, one of the most delicious, for example, make it a bit noisier, one of the most delicious dish in this area is, okay. And of course, this is because we have a list, but you can say, this, Tina, yes, of course, this is one of the most delicious dish. You have dish and you also have, like, you know, plate. So a plate is like, you know, it's the place where you put the food, so plate. But usually when you think about dish, is the dish, like, you know, the food you have in this area. Another particular expression is mouth watering. So when it's mouth watering, it's like you really look at this dish and you really want to eat. It looks very delicious by looking, so you can say mouth watering. Okay. And okay, so again, okay, I try as much as I can to give some simple examples just for you to remember, as you may have come across some of these expressions, and maybe what is more difficult for you is how to use them, okay? And so that's why I try to give you a lot of examples. Next, we're going to have a look at many activities, like, you know, for example, you are a tourist guide and I can say, what are the activities I can do in this area? Once I decide about the accommodation, yes, of course, it's very important for me to understand what to do, some activities. Let's start with some easy expressions which you may have used before. Like, you know, for example, we have sightseeing. When you are in a city and you go sightseeing, okay, sightseeing. So if I go sightseeing, you have heard and you are familiar with that, is because you go around the city and you visit. One expressions we had at the beginning of our meeting today was to see the landmarks. And I'm going to write again here, the landmarks. So when you go sightseeing, you visit the landmarks. Like we said at the beginning, the landmarks are the most important places. So go sightseeing. And you can also have a city tour. Okay, you can have a city tour, okay, and okay, or you can also have, for example, a walking tour. Walking tour. So, and of course, if I come to you, you try to tell me, yes, in this area, you can have a walking tour and you can go sightseeing, for example, visit the most important places. And okay, and or for example, you can have visit the landmarks, go sightseeing, okay, but there are other activities, okay, I'd like to know. So now we're going to have a look at some more vocabulary. And here we have the expressions I use when I have the sorry, is there a difference between tour guides and tourist guides? Okay, now a tour guide, is like, you know, when there's a tour, like, you know, for example, is like, you know, something organized, and tourist guides, is kind of the same, because you still have a group of tourists together with a guide. So you can say a tour guide and a tourist guide. Usually when you think about a tour, it's like, you know, when you have a walking tour, for example, and so usually it's like, you know, you have this group all together. So that's the difference, But really a tour is like, you know, a group, While a tourist guide, maybe they are less, you know, they're just, you know, a couple of tourists together. So that's when you say a tourist guide. I hope it was clear, So that's, you know, a tour guide and tourist guide, And now we're going to, yes, some tourist activities, And here we have, yes, like I said to you before, you're going to tell me something about the activities I can do in this area, So you can say, for example, nature, some nature ecotourism. When we talk about ecotourism, for example, here, so we just, you know, go to a place where nature and environment is very, very important. So where they take care of the environment. Adventure, so you can say, yes, you can have here different, adventure. Farm stays, maybe this is particular, but I think, you know, for some people this is so nice. A farm stay, and I'm going to write here, in a chat, so a farm, stay. So a farm stays is like, you know, where you stay on a farm and as a guest, and like, you know, you stay with these farmers, and you are in the nature, in a very pleasant and very quiet area. So this is a farm stay. Maybe, you can go camping. Some people are interested in camping. So that could be nice. It depends, for example, if you are near the mountains, or maybe sometimes you organize this because you have, you know, people coming and they want to get up on the mountains, for example, and yes, you can say to them, you can go camping. There is a camping area. Now, something else there, you have the wine, what's that? With Pujo. Is Alpine? That's correct. Hat, or you can say shelter. Shelter. Oh, sorry, sorry, I'm just going to write it down for you. So, shelter. Like a shelter. And yeah, usually, yes, for example, I heard many, the difference between tour guides and tourist guides. Oh, yes, sorry, I'm just going to say now. What I said before, the difference is very little. A tour guide, is like, you know, when you organize a tour, and you have a guide. So, and like, you know, a tourist guide, it can be one tourist or three, just like that, this is a tourist guide. But when you have a tour, it's because you organize the tour, I hope it is clear, So when you have a tour, like a walking tour, for example, remember when I said before, a walking, tour. Or you can have, for example, a bus tour, for example. So you have this tour, but there's like a group of people. That's when you say a tourist guide, a tour guide, I hope it's kind of clear. So we have a tour. When you have a tour, it's because you go, around the city, and you show them the landmarks. So you as a tour guide, you have to, of course, and I will tell you before the end of our meeting today, so you as a tour guide, you have to tell me what you have in the city. So this is a tour, okay? And yeah, this is an activity, and I'm sure it can be amazing here because of the mountains and so many places. And yes, interesting, this shelter, because as I was saying before, so many my students, they say like, they walk up in the mountains and there's like, a shelter. I've never been there before, but I think it can be quite interesting because obviously the landscape, okay, so for example, here you can say the landscape, okay, the landscape is amazing, okay, so it's a beautiful view, beautiful landscape. But I think it can be quite hard to walk up there, okay, it is quite demanding. So for me, for example, if you say to me, yes, it's amazing, you just walk there and there's a shelter, so I can say here it's very demanding, sorry, I do apologize, demanding. So you can say it's very demanding, it takes a lot of my energy. So yes, it's very, very demanding. Like you said, maybe today is your first meeting with us, you can say, yeah, that was very demanding. So very demanding means it takes a lot of your energy. So very demanding. But I think, yes, it could be very interesting to get up, in the shelter. And yes, you can have some wine, gastronomy, for example. So taste wine. Now let's go back to something we had before. For example, we had taste. Before, I said here, we have different tastes because I like red, you like white, okay? So we have different tastes. We have different, okay, tastes. So written like that, so we have different tastes like this. That, okay, you can say, for example, you can do many things in this area. It depends on your taste. It depends on what you like. So your taste is something you like. But when, for example, you can say to me, in this area, we have different kinds of wine, for example. So you can taste wine. So you can taste wine, different, okay, different kinds of wine. So you can taste a different kind of wine. So when you say that, you can taste different kinds of wine, means you can try, like, literally when you say try. And yes, for some people, that can be very interesting, if you like, wine, for example. You can say, okay, if you like wine, yes, that could be a good, okay, activity. Just, to taste food, you can say taste food, taste wine, for example. Yes, okay, then you can have, okay, art and craft, like, doing something, okay, and festivals and sport activity. And this could be quite interesting because I think, here, for example, because of the ski resort, for example, a lot of people come here, of course, to practice some sports. But, okay, if, for example, you are in a city, for example, your activity can be very different. Maybe you have, like, art galleries, conference, exhibitions, or on business. So you can say, for example, I'm here on business. So you can say here, I'm here on business, okay? And if, for example, you are here on business, that means you're here for work. So yes, you can have people who come here on business and maybe they have some free time so they can do some other activities. Then we have, okay, sports research conference. We also have, for example, okay, a religious, okay, so we have, okay, like a religious tourism. It's like, when you travel, because, for example, you want to visit some church or religious place. For example, if you go to those places like Lourdes, for example, this is a religious, okay, travel. Or for example, going to Rome as well. In some places, this is religious. And educational, like, you know, for example, okay, festival, okay. Yes, festival. Yes, like a festival. Yes, okay. Terrazaga. Yeah, exactly. And I think, like, you know, for example, many students in the past, they told me that here you have many of these. Like, you know, in some villages around Cuneo, I was told there are some of these, like a special festival, where, for example, here you can use my expression I used before, where, for example, you can taste different food. Because I remember one of my students was telling me about that, and it was like, there was like, you know, you go to these places and you can taste different food. So yes, that one, different food, different wine, for example, okay. And okay, and if you have any questions, yes, okay, feel free to ask, okay. And next, okay, we have here, okay, when you have, for example, like, you know, was saying before, tour guides, okay. And yes, when you have, okay, a tour guide, a tourist guide, like, you know, for example, yes, okay, here, because, you know, like we said before, when you are a tour, you are, for example, you have a group and you take this group in different places, okay. And of course, I think, you know, it's a very important, okay, job. I think he got a lot of responsibilities, because if you have, like, you know, okay, a group of people, I don't think it's so easy. And like, you know, was saying before, it's very important for you to speak with them. And in my opinion, I think if you speak, you know, a language, okay, in a very nice way, you make them feel like, you know, more comfortable. Yes, because here you have the responsibilities to make them, you know, like the place and to give them enough information. So of course you're going to give information here about, okay, places to visit, okay, about the landmarks, for example, about the places to visit, and and also about the activities. So I'd like to go through with you some expressions you can use there, okay, and sometimes I'll give you some examples, okay. Like, you know, okay, like, you know, for example, you as a tour guide, is your responsibility to make them interested in visiting places, to make them interested. So make them, so you can say here, and I'm going to write it down as example. So you can say make them, okay, to have a break. Yeah, that's fine. If you want to, feel free. Would you like to have a break? It's fine for me. If you want to, it's not a problem, okay? If you want to have
about it before, but maybe it's better to have just a 5 minutes break.
That's fine for me, no problem.
Okay. So you can relax your voice and just, okay.
Right, no problem at all. Thank you. So 5 minutes and then we'll be back, okay?
Okay.
And if you have any questions,
start again at 4:10, so 10 past 4. Okay.
10 past 4. Perfect. Perfect.
Okay. See you
Thank
in a while.
See you at 10 past 4. Right. Okay. Okay. We're going to have 5 minutes break. Okay. 10 past 4. We're going to start. Okay. Okay. Yes, that's fine. Okay. Camera. Okay. Camera. Okay.
You can turn on your camera.
Yeah, okay. Or maybe, maybe for some was more, okay. Right. Okay. Are you there? Are you ready? Have you had a break? Yeah. Okay. Coffee. Have you had your coffee?
I think we can start. Yes.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Yes. Okay. You had a big break. As I was saying before, maybe it's the first meeting is a little bit demanding. Okay. But okay, anyway, it's the first time. So maybe your next meeting will be a little bit easier. Also because the lesson is quite long. The next time will be a little bit shorter. But if I went too fast or if I said something earlier, I didn't get it, you know, before the end of this meeting, you can ask me and I will repeat and I'll tell you again. Yes, okay. I think, you know, you are used to listen to people quite fast because working in a tourist industry, I think you will have to speak to people with different accents. And yes, and of course, they speak quite fast, okay? So feel free to ask, to stop and say, oh, it's too fast or whatever. At work, it's different because you can't say to them, okay, it's too fast. It doesn't sound like so professional. But here with me, yes, you can do it, okay? So feel free to do that. And also at the end, you can tell me if I went too fast, okay? I would say this is a good training for you because if you don't understand, I can repeat you many times. While at work, you can't ask them to repeat because it's not very professional. So it's a little bit different, okay? We were talking about being a tourist guide, okay? And we were saying how this can be sometimes difficult. I think the first reason why it's difficult because you deal with people from everywhere with different accents, okay? And okay, sound audio, okay? So maybe, okay. So you deal with different people. And this, I think, if you're not very confident with the language, is not so easy. Because you always panic, oh my God, did you understand me? Okay, so this is kind of, you know, really demanding for you. Then you have to deal with. So a tourist guide deals with people from everywhere. I'm going to write it down here, okay? Okay, so we have, yes, for example, here we have, I agree, Gabriela, in English, a lot of foreign people, they translate from the first language and they say, I'm agree. It's not good in English because in English we say, I agree. So I'm just going to write it down, I agree. So when, for example, you have a person say something and you say, I agree with you. I agree. And if you don't, you say, I don't agree. And and when you make the question, you say, do you agree? You never say, are you agree with me? but you say, do you agree? I was saying before about this position, a tourist guide, okay? A tourist guide, I would say, is not very easy because you can say, I deal with different people. When you deal with different people, you heard these expressions. Deal with means to talk to them. This is your job, so every day you have to deal with different people, like, you know, speak to them, try to find a solution to their problem, welcome them, explain what we have, okay, anything. So deal with people. And funny, you as a tourist guide, you have to deal with problems too. So deal with people and deal with problems, okay? So even in the office, for example, if you are in a hotel, of course, there is a problem. So you can say here, I need to deal with this problem today. So I deal with problems and I deal with people. If you are a receptionist, the same, you deal with people every day. But going back to a tourist guide, yes, quite demanding. You have to deal with people from different countries, different parts of the world, and yes, different accent. So this is the first difficulty. And then, of course, you have to make yourself understood. Okay, make myself, this is my goal. I'm a tourist guide, so I make myself understood. And so I make myself understood, okay? So here I have to explain them, and this is your, of course, is your goal, because you have to tell them all about this area, all they need to know. So make myself understood. And of course, you have to tell them a lot of information. Now, another problem when you, as a tourist guide, you translate, you can say, oh, there are a lot of information. Sometimes I hear foreign students say that there are a lot of information. Or for example, you can say, I can give you one information. This is not possible. You can't say that in English. In English, you say, I can give you plenty of information. I can give you some information. I'm going to write it down. So you can say, I can give you some information. You never say in English, sorry, I can, sorry, okay, I can give. So I can give you some information. You can't say in English, please, one information. No, that's not good. So you can say, can I have some information? So you will get this question. So can I have some? So can I have some information? Can I have some information? You never say like, you know, can I have one information? Okay. And so and then you can say, you as a tourist guide, you have to give plenty of information. When you say plenty of means more than enough. Okay. Another example, you as a tourist guide, for example, you say, there are plenty of things to do. Of course, you say, yes, in this area is so interesting, and there are plenty of things to do. Plenty, so plenty of things to do. So plenty of things to do means more than enough. There are many, many things. So you can say here, there are plenty of things to do. So that means more than enough, okay? So this is one thing, okay, you say, so plenty of things to do. Then, of course, it's your goal to give information about the area and tell them about what you have there. For example, you can say, this is the district area. So this is the district area, okay? This is the main street. So for example, if I start with this one first, and I'm going to give you some example. So for example, this is the main street. Okay, so this is the main street. Now, when I say here, this is the main street, so that means this is the most important. So you can say in this area, so in this village, you can say this is the main street. The main street is similar to the most important, okay? You can also have the shopping street district. Like that. So you can say here the shopping district. So the shopping district is like, you know, where you have all the shops. Okay, so the shopping district. But you can also have the restaurant district. Okay, so the restaurant, right? So just like that. So the restaurant district. So the restaurant district is like, you know, where you have all the restaurants. So you can say to them, this is the restaurant district. This is the shopping district, the main district, okay? And okay, and here in this area, for example, you can have, a lot of restaurants, or you can have a lot of shops, okay? It's kind of the same. But of course, you know, I try to give you like an example because this is what, you know, a tourist guide will say. You can see on your right the shopping district, and you can see on the other side of the city, you can see the restaurant district, okay? Then, you can also, you can also, for example, say something like what you can do, what you are allowed to do, and what you can't do. For example, you can say here, you may. So you, as a tourist guide, you say, you may take photos, okay? You may take photos, okay? Here, of course, may, you heard many times. Let's go back to something we started at school. And when, for example, I use may, is like, you know, this is like, you know, something you can do, you may do it, okay? May is very, very polite. Less polite is you can take photos, okay? So many times you can say, yes, you can take photos here. You may take photos here, okay? And okay, or you can say, okay, you may visit this castle, for example. So you may visit this castle only, for example, on weekend, okay? So you may visit. So look at this example and say you may visit. You may visit the castle, okay, only at the weekend, for example. Okay, only at the weekend, or for example, on weekdays. Okay, on weekdays, for example. And okay, something else, for example, which can be confusing for you. Maybe you heard American people say on the weekend, and sometimes you hear, for example, you may visit this castle at the weekend. They are both fine. It's just because on the weekend it's American and at the weekend is, okay, British. But again, you as a tourist guide will say you may visit this castle. Sorry, again, I tapped too fast. Sorry, this castle. So okay, castle. So you may visit this castle. You can visit this castle. You may take photos, for example. Sometimes you can also say, for example, yes, you are allowed to. So you can say you are allowed to, you're allowed to take photos, okay? You're allowed to take photos. For example, if I come with you and I say, oh, that's an interesting area for me, can I take photos? Possible, okay. But I can also come to you, say very quickly, very fast, I'm allowed to take photos. So it's too fast and you didn't get my question. Basically, it's the same like, you know, can I take photos? Okay. And this is fine. But you can have a tourist coming to you and say, am I allowed? Am I allowed? So am I allowed? I am allowed to take photos. Okay, so photos. Okay, like that. So am I allowed means if I have the permission. Okay. And so that's why we were saying before, it is quite demanding because you have people coming to you, but maybe you remember can I, but they come to you and they say, I'm allowed to take photos here. Okay, so of course here is a little bit more difficult for you. So am I allowed? Can I take? May we had before, you as a tourist guide, you said, yes, you may take photos because you want to be very professional, but above all, very polite because you don't know these people. You say, yes, of course, you may take photos. Go ahead, okay? When you say go ahead, please do it, no problem, okay? Or maybe I can say, okay, maybe I am interested and say, can I take a leaflet, for example? Yes, of course, go ahead, please do it, okay? So go ahead, again, is quite formal for you to say, please, don't worry, do it. And then we have may. You can say, may I take photos? May I is like, you know, it's possible for me. I'm asking for permission, okay? But remember when I say, may you do it? No, not possible, okay? So you only say here, may I for the first person, okay? When you give permission, you say, yes, of course, you may do it, okay? So yes, very, very formal. And okay, and then we have, okay, here, for example, in the same way, when you want to give them some information about what they can do. Again, if you want to be formal, you can say, in this area, you may do many things. You can do many things. Or you can do the expressions we had before. You can do plenty of things. There are plenty of activities, okay? And like, you know, for example, let's have a look at some more vocabulary here. So for example, you can have an historic site, palaces, stately homes, okay? So to visit a palace, for example, themes park. Themes park is like, you know, amusement park, for example, monuments, museums, archaeological sites, historic sites, art galleries, and castles, okay? And I think, you know, for example, if you are describing like, you know, a building, for example, like a castle, church, art galleries, museums, of course, here you need, okay, okay, you need to give a lot of information about when it was built. Like, you know, for example, if you are a tourist guide and you are showing me around this castle in Cuneo, so a possible question I can ask you is, for example, when was it built? When was it built? Okay. So if I ask you, for example, this question, when? Sorry. Okay. So for example, if I say when was it? When was it built? When was it built? And again, here we have pretty easy for you, because your first language is Italian, so it comes from Latin, so the passive is very easy, I think, for you to use it. When was it built? And you say, oh, this castle was built. So you can say it was built in, for example, in 1900, for example, it was built. Or for example, okay, like, you know, for example, the art galleries, for example, when, okay, can I visit these art galleries? Again, I use can, very informal, or when may I visit, okay? Like, you know, for example, okay, so we have, okay, the museums, for example, I can say, when is the museum open? When is it open, okay? And many times here, for example, do I need to? So, for example, if I want to visit, if I'm interested in this activity, so I am interested in this activity, and I can say to you, yes, I want to visit this museum, for example. And we have here, do I need to? Do I need to? Now I have this question here with need. So I can say here, do I need to buy a ticket in advance? Do I need to buy a ticket? Do I need to buy a ticket in advance? Now, in advance, like, before, I can't just, go there, okay? So, do I need to buy a ticket in advance? So, I'm this a tourist, very interested in visiting this museum. You are the tourist guide. So, I can say to you, excuse me, do I need to buy a ticket in advance? Or I can just turn up. Okay, yeah, I'm going to give you this example here because you have these tourists, okay, and of course English is first language, so it won't say like, for example, can I come with no ticket? No, it won't say something like that, but it will say to you, do I need to buy a ticket in advance, or I can just turn up? And you say turn up, my God, you panic and say, what is that? So you understand the ticket or turn up, okay? Turn up is one of these expressions we had at the beginning of the lesson of this meeting. Remember when I said to check in, check out, go in, go out, quite confusing. This is another one. So you as a tourist guide, as a travel agent, you will hear this expression, turn up. Turn up at 7, for example. So turn up means come, exactly the same. So if you translate from Italian, you will say, is it necessary for me? Do I need to buy a ticket in advance before, or I just come? But of course, native speakers will say to you, do I need to buy a ticket, or I just turn up? Turn up means, just come. So you as a tour guide will say, no, don't worry, you can turn up and we give you the tickets, okay? Just turn up. So turn up means just come, okay? And like, for example, when you have a guide and you're a guide and you have this group, for example, you can say, we can meet up at 7 o'clock, okay? So again, we can say, we can meet up here at 7, for example, okay? So yes, because you try to tell them again when you can meet, okay? So you can have, you can have some free time to look around, and then we can meet up here. I've used again, I did it on purpose because I wanted to get familiar with these expressions, like, for example, look around. So look around like that. And you say, for example, yes, okay, you have a few minutes to look around. So when you look around means you just, visit the place. So we give you like a few minutes to look around, okay? Then yes, okay, and of course, for example, this is okay, all questions about museums, monuments, okay, historic places, okay. But then we have, for example, here, okay, sorry, I just have to, we have this one, okay, yeah, okay, here we have natural, for example, when we think about nature, mountains, lakes, rivers, national parks, and coasts, okay? And yes, and of course, here you have to give information about mountains, for example. And yes, for example, in this area, you are very close to mountains. Remember, we said we are close to the mountains. We can say we are near mountains, okay? And so you need to obviously give some information about, okay, mountains and the shelter, for example. You can say you can reach the shelter, for example, in an hour, okay. So reach, okay, for example, you can say it's not very far and you can reach. You can reach the shelter. So reach is like, you know, to get there, okay? You can reach the shelter in an hour, or you can say you can get there. You can get there in an hour. So again, what we had at the beginning is famous verb here, to get. So you can say you can get there in an hour. It's not too far from here. So I can say you can get there in an hour. Or you can reach the shelter in an hour. Yes, you can say, okay, the lakes, you can say there are some beautiful lakes, okay, some beautiful rivers where you can stop, okay, and spend some time there, okay. Okay, there is, okay, also, for example, there are national parks, okay, and coasts, okay. Like, you know, for example, if I am the tourist and I am interested in lakes and rivers, okay, so for mountains, for example, so of course I come in this area because it's really nice, it's so beautiful, and I ask you some questions, like, you know, for example, I can say to you, for example, how far are the mountains? How far? And you have a tourist asking you how far. So immediately, how far? I'm asking you about distance. Like, you know, for example, how far is it? How far is it? And okay, sometimes you get confused and you say, how far? How long? I'm confused, so you don't know how to give the right information because the tourist is asking you how far, how long. So what's the difference there? If I ask you how far is the distance, for example, you can say it's about 5 kilometers, okay? A good strategy for you is never to translate from Italian, okay? So even if maybe you're not so confident right now with English, it's better for you not to translate. So if I say how far, 5 kilometers. So like this, you don't have to rely on Italian because you know exactly the meaning. How far is it? 5 kilometers, okay? If, for example, I say to you, well, I would like to walk there. So I want to go to this lake, which is beautiful. You told me there is a beautiful lake in this area near Cuneo. And I say to you, how long does it take? I want to walk. Now, this is a bit confusing because you got these questions like, how long does it take? And I'm going to write it down here. So how long does it take? You are a little bit confusing here. First of all, because you said long, it's like, you know, distance, long, 1 meter. No, it's not that. So here it's like how long means how much time, how many days, how many hours. So how long. And then this particular structure in English, because it's like it takes, like I take my pen, I take a coffee, and I take my English book, and it takes me, like, you know, from here to the lake, it takes an hour. So I can say to you, it takes an hour, okay? It takes an hour. Like if I say, for example, from Cuneo to Turin, how long does it take? And you say to me, well, if you want to travel by car from Cuneo to Turin, it takes an hour, okay? So that's what it means, it takes, like this, okay? And very important, like you know, we said before, you as a tourist guide to understand people and what information they want to have from you. So how long is how much time, and then you have how far. Yes, here is the distance, okay? So I can say to you, yes, I really love this river. It looks fantastic on the picture. So I can say to you, how far is it from Cuneo? How long does it take from Cuneo, for example? And yes, for example, if I want to go on the coast and I say, how far is it from here? How long does it take? Can I walk there? Can I walk there? So can I walk? Okay, so here we have, can I walk? Now, sometimes it depends, you know, if you deal with people, with English or foreign people every day, because if you don't, sometimes the main problem is also the listening, because you do not catch the sound. For example, here I'd like to highlight here the difference between walk and work, because so many times it's like, I can work. Now it's not work because you are here to have fun, not to work. So you don't say work, but you say walk. So the L is silent. It's not there. It's there, but it's not there. So you can say I walk. So you can say yes, you can walk to the park. And yes, for example, you can say how far is the coast from here, for example. Then we have the events, like, you know, for example, you can say, are there any events here, for example, festivals, okay, like we were saying before, is there a music event or art festival or something like that, okay, or carnival, parade, something like this. Here we have, are there any? So, for example, we have, let's have a look at this example. Are there any events? Right, events, and then we have here any. Sometimes you are confused between some events, any events. Remember when I ask you and I say to you, are there any events? Like, you know, in a question, I say any. And yes, I can say here, there are some events, okay? But when you ask me the question, yes, you say, yes, there are some events, there are many events, or the expression we used before, because I wanted to use all the new expressions we had today. So you can say, yes, in this area, there are plenty of events. And I'm going to write it down here. And I can say there are plenty of events. There are plenty of events like that. And we said before, here we have there are more than enough. So you can say plenty of events, okay? And then, okay, in the same way, for example, with any, I can say, in this area, like, you know, in this area in the mountains, are there any restaurants? Again, I use any. Are there any restaurants? Are there any national parks? So again, because I'm asking you, and I can say yes, are there any? But then there is also, for example, something about entertainment and leisure activities, okay? Many times you hear these expressions like, you know, leisure activities. And leisure activities, like, you know, things you do for entertainment, for example, like, you know, shopping, sports center, or going to the stadium, concert hall, theatre, nightclubs, or something like that. Here the question will be, are there any leisure activities? Okay. Like, you know, for example, are there any nightclubs? Are there any concert halls or something like this? And then the answer will be yes, there are many, there are some. We can say yes, there are plenty. And okay, then one more here. For example, if we talk about, for example, an event, you can say yes, there is this special event. And I'd like to remind you of these expressions, which I'm sure you heard many times. Bank holiday, on bank holidays, okay? When you think about, for example, bank holiday, bank holiday, reading like that, it means a national holiday in the country. And yes, we can say, for example, so talking about, for example, the castle, you can say the castle is open on bank holiday. So bank holiday is like, you know, when in Italy, for example, it's a national holiday where the shops are closed, banks are closed. You can call it bank holiday or national holiday. So yes, in this case, it's like, for example, the castle is open on bank holiday. Or for example, we can say the tickets are more expensive on bank holiday. Or the last expression, yes, we had it before, do you remember? We charge you more, okay? So we charge you more. We charge you more on bank holiday. And when I have here this expression, we charge you more, means we take you more money from you on bank holiday. I've tried to give you as many examples as possible. I'd like to spend the last few minutes with you, maybe asking me and tell me how you feel about the vocabulary, if they were easy, I hope not so difficult, okay? And maybe you can just tell me if you have any questions or something you would like to ask in the last few minutes of our meeting. Would you like to ask me anything? Any questions? Okay, something which was not clear. I've tried to give you plenty of examples, because you will see that with examples you remember more, okay? I'm sure you have heard many of these expressions. I believe that the main difficulty is how to use them in a very natural way, because of course in your job, if you work in a hotel, in a travel agency, as a tourist guide, you have to deal with different people with different accents. And so I strongly believe that this is the main difficulty, okay? And so we can spend, like, you know, the last few minutes discussing this. And before, I'd like to remind you that next Monday afternoon there will be the second lesson, okay? So just to remind you, that will be next Monday in the afternoon. Would you like to ask me something? Tell me how you feel. Maybe you feel confident, okay? Maybe, yes, you feel confident, okay, with these expressions. Maybe you heard many times, okay. Do you deal with English people a lot, or maybe foreign people? Because, you know, sometimes if you deal with foreign people, for example, it's a little bit easier. You will not hear, for example, turn up, okay. You can say, can I come? While an English person will say to you, can I turn up anytime? A foreign person will say, can I come anytime? That's the difference. There's a big difference there. So yes, the turn up, one of the expressions, yes, we had, okay. Okay, and so if I just, yes, like this, so maybe I can see some of you, that's so nice, okay. Okay, so do you have any questions at all? Was it are you quite familiar with these expressions? Maybe you can just share with me some of your thoughts, okay? Are you familiar? You deal with foreign people or English people? How do you feel about speaking? Confident? A little bit shy sometimes? A little bit shy, just a little. Are you very shy? No. I think I can understand you that the first problem is, like, you know, when you have to explain what you want to say in a nice way, in a natural way, but at the same time is to understand people. Do you speak a lot with foreign people, or some? Maybe some of you want to share your idea with me. Do you speak a lot with foreign people, or only American people or English people? No, maybe a little, not too much, not too much, okay. Quite confident, I like traveling back. Oh, that's so nice, you feel confident, okay. That's very good. Okay, so you enjoy traveling by yourself. Good. In my opinion, if you are alone, that's when you learn, okay? Because if you are with other people, you say, okay, don't worry, you take it easy. It's the same, for example, when you have the subtitles. You know, when you watch a film and you read, you can say, yeah, you relax, because you have some expressions that come from Latin, so you relax, okay? While when you listen, it's more difficult because you have some sound which you do not recognize. So yes, it's more difficult, okay? But you can write on a chat, on this chat, and I can answer you, do you deal with English people or foreign people? Because I think it's a little bit different. Do you deal, you know, in your job, for example, do you deal with English people or American people, Australian, Canadian, for example, or foreign people? Can you see can you see a little bit different here when you have an English person, or when, for example, you have a foreign person? Foreign, Sergio, you deal with foreign people. Yes, okay. That's good. You deal with foreign people, so it's a little bit easier because, for example, turn up. You know the expression I used it before. They don't use it quite often. They just say, "Can I come to Cuneo by car?" For example, "Can I come anytime?" For example, if I book everything, "Can I come? I want to visit this museum." So I can say, "Can I come anytime?" So yes, the person will say to you, "Can I turn up?" Yes, so that's this question. They will say to you, "Can I turn up at any time?" Okay, so you don't need to book anything. So I can just say, you can turn up. So you, as a tourist guide, so next time you will tell them, you can say, no, you don't need to book a ticket. You can turn up at any time, okay? So yes, we have, yes, you deal with English-speaking people from US, Australia. You find difficult more with British people, okay? So maybe it's because you are used to listening to, for example, Australian people, because I think it's habits, okay? Because if you deal with Australian people a lot more, of course, when you deal with English people, you feel like, oh my God, what's this accent, okay? I mean, it's the same, for example, if you have people, you know, from UK, like, you know, from the south or from the north, from, you know, the accent, yes, is a little bit different, okay? So, okay, so this is another, obviously, difficulty. Do you prefer email then? I think you feel good when you write email, feel more confident. Do you feel more confident with email? For example, yeah, Giovanni, do you feel more confident with email? Maybe when you write email, it's easier for you, I think, because, you know, you can think what you want to say, you can translate. So yes, it is much easier, I think. Yes, of course, okay. So when you write email, there are no sounds, okay. So no problems with them, okay. Oh, you have a bed and breakfast, German people. Oh, that's very nice. Okay, so okay. Do you find it quite easy, or do you see the difference when you deal with German people and okay, and English with other foreign people? Do you find it quite difficult with English, British English? Do you think? Okay, maybe when you deal, for example, with German people. Sometimes, yes, it depends, of course, on their English level, but okay. Yes, okay. Okay, yes, and okay. So I can see, for example, like, you know, for example, when I listen to foreign people speaking English, I can see that the structure they use is very, very simple, not so complicated. It's like, you know, for example, when I say, I want to make myself understood, okay? So some they say, I want you to understand me. So I can say, I make myself understood, okay? And okay, so okay, do you have any other questions would you like to ask me? Something else you want to tell me? anything, feel free. Don't be shy. You can ask me anything, okay? Anything at all, something which was not so clear, feel free to ask anything. Well, before we go, I'd like to thank you, Tatiana, okay, from ATL Cuneo, and I'd like to remind you, all this was introduced by Tina, my name, okay, and was written English. And I'd like to thank you all. It was it was a pleasure for me, and I hope it was useful, and I hope you remember some of these particular expressions we had. I strongly believe, and I agree with you, that the expressions we had, like, you know, for example, get in, get off, okay, turn up, they're not so easy to be used, I think. Maybe, okay, only if you speak with English people all the time, you will remember them. My piece of advice is to remember the example. And like, you know, for example, the one we had today, turn up, you can say, you as a tour guide, or maybe in your bed and breakfast, you can say, yeah, you can turn up. We don't need a booking, for example, just turn up, okay? So it means you tell them, just come, okay? One of the expressions we had. And then, okay, another expressions we had in your bed and breakfast you can use. You can say, yes, the internet is not free. We charge you €1 per hour, for example. So this is an example to use the expressions we had, you know, to charge. So we can say, I'm sorry, madam, we charge you €1 for internet, which is not free. Sometimes you can say, don't worry, it's free of charge. So we can say here, it's free of charge. So means is free, okay? You don't pay. So you can say it's free of charge. Or we can say, yes, we charge you, okay? I hope it was useful for you. I'd like to say thank you very much for your time. It's a pleasure for me to have you in this meeting today. And if you have any questions, okay, you can ask me. And I will remind you, I'd like to remind you by next Monday, there will be the second meeting, okay? So thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you, all of you. Have a great afternoon. Thank you. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Okay, bye-bye. See you soon. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And just want to remember that we are going to send an email in the next 2 days with the tips with this lesson, so you can watch it again in our YouTube channel. So if you want, you can also slow it down if you want to listen to it again. And I asked Tina if possible to receive also the teaching sheets you used today, and maybe they could be useful for our pupils.
Perfect. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So see you next Monday.
See you next Monday. Thank you so much
Bye-bye.
for your time. Okay, lovely. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. See you.
Bye-bye. See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.